Tell how the angels in chorus sang as they welcomed his birth. Glory to God in the highest, peace and good tidings to earth. Tell me the story of Jesus.
Welcome to the Detectives. My name is Ian, and today we're going to look at case number 9, which is a story about the best party ever. It was when Jesus of Nazareth, the most wonderful man who has ever lived on this earth, was invited to a wedding. And when we have finished about learning what happened, we will ask ourselves the question, how did he do that? Now, Jesus of Nazareth was born before cameras were invented, so we have no photographs of him, and we don't know what he looked like. But because his mother was Jewish, and he was born in Judea, we imagine that he looked like this man with dark hair and dark eyes and a dark beard. Unlike perhaps many children's Bibles, which presented him as having blonde hair and blue eyes. Jesus of Nazareth had a secret. Why do we call him Jesus of Nazareth? Because although he was born in Bethlehem, he was brought up in Nazareth. And therefore, when he began to preach and teach about God, people called him Jesus of Nazareth. On this particular day that we are thinking about, Jesus and his disciples have been invited to go to a wedding. So he and his disciples went to the wedding along with his mother, Mary. Weddings were very happy occasions. And we remember that because God told us that a man could marry a woman, therefore weddings were invented by God, and Jesus was quite happy to go to one. Weddings are very happy occasions. A man decides to marry a woman, and a woman agrees to be married to a man, and they have lovely food, and there is lovely things to drink, and there is rejoicing. And Jesus is at the wedding. And because he loved people, he cried when they cried, and he laughed when they laughed, and he is enjoying the wedding. But there is a problem. Partway through the wedding, they run out of wine. Now, we suppose that in those days it wasn't safe to drink the water, because although you and I can drink water from a tap, in those days it wasn't necessarily as clean and pure as it is for us. So drinking wine was an important thing to do. But when you go to a wedding and run out of wine, it's a disaster. It means you haven't managed the wedding properly. So his mother Mary says to Jesus, "They have run out of wine." Now, why did she tell him that? Because she knew his secret. Nobody else knew his secret, and mothers are like that, you know. They know our secrets. They know the state of our bedrooms, whether they're tidy or not. They know whether we have washed behind our ears. They know all sorts of things about us that nobody else knows. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, knew his secret. What was his secret? We'll find out by the end of the story. But she says to him, "They have run out of wine." Jesus says to her, "My time has not yet come." What does that mean? It means it wasn't time for him to reveal his secret. But even so, Mary said to the servants that were bringing the food and the wine in, "Whatever he says to you, do it." So Jesus says to the servant, "You know, when we came into this room, there were 6 very large stone pots at the door full of water. They were used for people to wash their hands when they came into the wedding before they had the feast. Jesus says to the servant, fill those 6 jars with water, and when you have done that, pour out the water and take it to the man in charge of the wedding. Now, the servants have been told to do exactly what Jesus did. Remember, his mother told them to do that. So they do that. They fill these 6 big stone jars. Look, they're almost as tall as a man. And they fill them with water. And then they pour out the water and they take it to the man in charge of the feast. Now, I can imagine that they probably thought, why would I want to take water to the man in charge of the feast? But the difference is this, that when they took it to the man in charge of the wedding, it wasn't water anymore. It was wine. It wasn't just ordinary water, clear water. It was now red water. And it wasn't just water that tastes like water. No, it was real wine. How did he do that? How did Jesus turn water into wine without doing anything else? Well, that's the question. And that is his secret. So they pour out the water and it suddenly becomes wine, and the man in charge of the feast drinks the wine and he's enjoying the wine, and he says to the servants, what have you done? Normally, when people come in and they are dry and thirsty, we give them the best wine. And after they have drunk lots of it, we give them the worst wine. And they don't notice that it's the bad wine anymore. But in this case, he said, I don't know why you've done it, but you have given the worst wine at the beginning and the best wine at the end. Jesus turned water into the best wine that this man had ever drunk. And everybody enjoys the feast and the wedding. And everybody enjoys this gift that Jesus has given to the bride and the groom, the best wine ever. And the wedding goes on well. And Mary has asked Jesus to help them, and Jesus has helped them. And they have the best party ever. How did he do that? How did Jesus turn water into wine in an instant, and the best wine that this man had ever tasted? Well, here's his secret. Jesus turned water into wine, and Mary knew that he could, Mary his mother, because Jesus is the Son of God. Although he was a man, he was also God, and Mary knew that. She knew that when he was born, the angels said to her, he was the Son of God. And she knew he could help people. How did he do that? He did it because he is God. He is man and he is also God. I believe he is God. I hope you believe he is God as well, because you can't be a real Christian if you don't believe he is God. And the Bible tells us that when the disciples saw Jesus turn water into wine, they began to believe in him, that he was not just an ordinary man, he was a special man. He was God, who could do anything he wanted to. And he still can.
Fasting alone in the desert, tell of the days that are past, how for our sins he was tempted, yet was triumphant at last. Tell of the years of his labor, tell of the sorrow he bore. He was despised and afflicted, homeless, rejected, and poor. Tell me the story of Jesus, write on my heart every word. Tell me the story most precious, sweetest that ever was heard. Tell of the cross where they nailed him, writhing in anguish and pain. Tell of the grave where they laid him, tell how he liveth again. Love in that story so tender, clearer than ever I see. Stay, let me weep while you whisper, love paid the ransom for me. Tell me the story of Jesus, write on my heart every word. Tell me the story most precious, sweetest that ever was heard.